Hi. Today's question is from Null, composer and level designer from Brazil here. I worked with a group at Wildlife Studios not too long ago, and they're in Sao Paulo. Uh, Great group of audio professionals there, and I believe I may have done a chat with somebody from the Game Audio Diversity Alliance. Oh, Gabriel Melnick, yes, who I think is also from Brazil. Could be wrong. Apologies if I am. But there's some great audio pros there, and some really huge Steve Vai fans in Brazil as well. All that aside, let's answer Null's question here. What was the best moment you had working on Deus Ex? Do you feel like you'd be lucky enough to work on a project like that ever again? Well, good question. They're all good questions. What was the best moment I had? I'd have to say it was. The story was just too big for me to get my head around at first. Sheldon Picotti and Sarah, I don't remember if Sarah Page, was, if they were both working on the first story. I know Sheldon was, and it was huge. I knew about, I mean, it was obvious that, from the intro that, it's based in conspiracies, but all the factions and the choices that you have to make and who just to decide to align yourself with, the people like Gunter and or not, the choice you have to make at Lebedev's airfield. There are these moments, these accent points in the story. I think one of the best moments I had was similar to an experience that I had in Ultima 6 by the great Origin Systems and Richard Garriott, Lord British, and that team, which I believe Warren Spector was the producer on Ultima 6. That was one of my first introductions to his work. I mean, System Shock really put me in the Warren Spector camp of game design after that, in terms of just being a fan. But in Deus Ex, there was a moment where I just decided to wait for a UNATCO patrol in Liberty Island to walk by a lamb, something munition, a little explosive you can just plant on the wall or any place you can get to. It'll stick, and it'll be motion sensing, and it'll blow up when somebody gets close. Now, Liberty Island gives you freedom. I mean, to experiment with different gameplay types. It's one of the best introductions. So the player, I mean, it's like a super tutorial or just another tutorial past the original tutorial that just shows you the basic mechanics, where you can try different methods of accomplishing a goal. You can go in guns blazing. You can just knock people out. You can avoid people entirely. You can use security systems. That was and still is Deus Ex's best aspect, is the multiple ways to solve problems. The story is great, and it links in with these multiple methods. Certain aspects of the game respond to your choices, and that's great too. All of those together make for a great role-playing experience. It was that way then. It still is. But planting the lamb and trying something and thinking it would work and having it work was my best experience working on the project. I mean, in terms of a player, in terms of development, it was the freedom to just write. We wrote just about whatever. I really don't think we had rewritten music. Oh, we need to pour over this piece of music or that piece of music, and it's not quite right. The highs are this. You need to take out this instrument. You need to slow it down. That just wasn't a thing in those days. We had one review on GameSpy. I can't remember all the reviews. But yeah, in terms of development, it was just the freedom to write whatever music just came to mind. And that was very welcome. I wouldn't do it the same way. There's fans that are like, it's a common thing where, and I'm part of it too, where, like example, the Superman 1978 film on digital and all formats now has a different set of sounds for the opening credits. I think they are more modern. I think in some ways they are more expansive and impactful. In some ways, especially the S appearing, it doesn't hit me the same way. I prefer the old one. And the people that I'm sure slaved over that to try to meet expectations, you can't. You can't really do that. Some people will think it's nice and modern and good and impactful, and some people are like, nope, like the old one. And that's just like the way it is on with Deus Ex fans and fans of Unreal. And when I do remixes and Michiel does remixes, it's like, yeah, still really prefer this. Can't blame anyone for that. We like what it is that we like. So I wouldn't do that again. The same way. I'm a different person. It's been 25 years. So do I think I'll be lucky enough to work on a project like that ever again? I hope so. I really haven't been out banging on doors, but here's the deal. There's many more people that do what I do and that do music well, do sound design well, do voiceover well. If I'm part of a project, it's because it's my specific particular set of skills that hone in on that project and make it as good as it can be. Am I going to work harder to make that happen? Absolutely. Things were easier across the board 25 years ago, and even before that. Like for Tyrion, the first game that we came out with, Epic published it because we had a demo that my best friend was the programmer and main designer, and both of us did a bunch of the art. It got accepted in a lower tier of Epic, but then raised it up because we found an artist, Daniel Cook, who just made it amazing looking. But you could do that much more easily than you can now. But it was harder to make a game. A lot of it was pure programming. You didn't have engines the way you have now. Obviously, Unreal 1 started when I, got in on the ground floor of Unreal when it was being made. And that, was that luck? Well, maybe, yeah. It was me being in the right place at the right time with Michiel, walking into Tim Sweeney's office and saying, we'd like to do the music, and him saying, yep. And it ended up great. I'd love to do that again on an Epic project, on a Sony project, on whatever project. I love writing music for games. I want to make it more interactive. I want to really, when I say more interactive, I was talking with a colleague recently, I'm getting a little far afield here, about, I saw this big presentation on all these layers of interactive score and nobody noticed. The idea is to make interactivity that, in some cases it's subtle, like the environment art that environment artists do. You go through a really crazy detailed game like Spider-Man or whatever, and you don't look at every detail, but if you decide to, it's there. Music can do that, but there's other places where it has to stand out and it has to call the player's attention for whatever reason. It combines with the design of whatever it is that you're working on. So there's so much more involved these days than there was. There's the tool sets. I've learned the tool sets over the years. There's the additional musicality and finding that sweet spot of live performance and the tools that we have available for synthesis as far as they've come, and experimenting with just what craft fits. Because I don't limit myself to live. I don't limit myself to synth. Everything's a tool. And any one of those tools can make something better or not. So I am very interested in participating in a project to score it. There's been missed opportunities and projects that have been canceled, and we've all been through it in the game industry. But yes, I really would like to work on a major role-playing game, adventure game, first-person shooter, to really make the music amazing on it. So, Null, thanks for the question.